Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney and this is Kaya, and my channel is all about my cross-stitching adventures as well as my other crafting endeavors and the books that I read. Thank you for my kisses. In today's video, I've got a little bit of it all. I've got some cross-stitching, I've got some crochet, I've got some sewing, some Cricut, some laser engraver, and a couple of books. And so I work in theater, so I like to start my videos out with a theater fun fact. And today's theater fun fact is about the Tony Awards. So those happened between my last video and now. And the Tony Awards are a kind of similar to like the Emmys, the Oscars, but for theater. So it celebrates excellence in theater, and they have been happening since 1947, and they are named after Antoinette Perry. She was an actress, director, producer, and one of the leaders for the American Theater Wing, who is one of the two hosts who host the Tonys. In 1967, the Broadway League joined the American Theater Wing, so now it is the American Theater Wing and the Broadway League who host the Tonys. Like I said, it usually happens in the month of June, and just some fun little facts that I found about the Tonys. So Hamilton has the most Tony nominations with 16. Their year was 2016. I just realized that. They got 16 nominations in 2016. The producers are the ones that have won the most Tonys with 12 in 2001. Audra McDonald is the performer who has been nominated for the most with 11 nominations. Also the one who has the most wins with 6 wins. Stephen Sondheim has the most composer wins with 8, and Bob Fosse has the most choreographer wins, also with 8, plus 1 directing credit, or 1 directing Tony. And there have been a total of 10 ties in Tony history. So next year in June, keep your eyes out for the Tonys. It's a great time to see what new shows had just opened. Not just the new ones, but the revivals and the plays and just the amazing artistry that goes into theater, and celebrating everyone that it takes to put on a Broadway show, because it's not an easy one. This year's was hosted by Pink, which is kind of the first time that it's really been hosted by somebody who has never been on Broadway, I think. Like, solely hosted. But I think she did a really good job. I was very impressed. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the cross-stitching, what you came here for. Since my last video, I have stitched a total of 12 days on 5 different projects for a total of 4,432 stitches. Alright, so we will start with my first project, and this is Matilda. This is one of my patterns. Here is what she will have looked like before, and as well as the mock-up for what she will look like when she is finished. I'm just moving the thread out of the way so you can kind of see it a little better. And here she is. So she's just in the fill-in stage, and since she's on a 14 count black, she's very good to stitch while I'm outside because I really don't need a pattern, and being outside, it makes it easier to see. So I stitched a total of 2 days on her for a total of 549 stitches. Just slowly filling in the colors. Sorry about the thread with the needle. I parked stitches on the back, and they're wrapped around the needle minder, so can't move that. All of my needle minders, you can't really see this one, almost all of my needle minders now are from Fangirl Fibers. I don't believe she makes needle minders anymore, but she also does a yarn advent calendar. Alright, so that is project number 1. Next we're going to move on to the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is also one of my patterns. Here is what it will look like finished. Here's what it looks like the last time. I stitched on this for 1 day for a total of 488 stitches. And here is what it looks like now. So I just started on the white here. This is a 18 count that I tea dyed myself, and then I baked it as well, I believe. So you've got the darker lines. Yeah, so just starting to fill in the white. I think because inside, this is the banner, and so inside the banner it says 25th annual spelling bee, I think. I don't fully remember. You'll have seen the pattern. But I'm gonna fill up until I get to the words, and then I'm gonna outline the words, and then outline the border, and then I'll be able to just fill in. And then down here you've got the spellers. So yeah, this is, I don't know why I did this to myself. She's a really large project. I made her a lot larger than I anticipated, but I have no rush to finish her. The pattern is already out on my Etsy, and yeah, so there's number 2. Alright, next we have Ava, which I moved her to her new bag that I made. I'm so happy with this bag. She's so pretty. Here's the inside. This is the project keeper from Tiger Lily Designs. I really love these bags. And so here is what Ava will look like when she's done. Here's what she looked like the last time. This is a pattern by, oh shush, Nora Corbett, who also does Mirabilia. Someone's mowing their lawn, so my dog is not happy about it. And that's why Kaya just came and ran in my lap, because she got scared. Yeah, you okay? So Ava is one of the Bewitching Pixies from Nora Corbett. And here is what she looks like now. So I believe last time you saw it, she only had the black. I hadn't done any of the pink. And now all of her is done. All of the dress is done. What I have left to do is the broom, the head of the broom, which will go here. Lots of back stitching and lots of beads, which I don't have yet, which I have to still order. That is a task for me today or tomorrow. But I love how she looks. She looks so pretty. I'm so excited. So if you've been here before, you know that I am going to slowly stitch all of the Bewitching Pixies, but make them pink. So they're all going to use this color gradient, because I think this color gradient is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, so that is the first one. She doesn't have a ton of stitches in her. I do have one more. I don't remember which one it is. I'll put a picture up here. She's going to be the next one that I start. I'm just slowly collecting the patterns. Unless I see that they're, like, being retired or something, I'm not going to, like, rush to buy them, or if I see them, like, on a really good sale. Alright, next we've got my other big piece, who lives in a matching bag to who she is. So this is the Mad Tea Party from Bella Filipina. This is what she will look like. I just kind of call her Alice. I don't have a before picture, but I worked on her for a total of 2 days, and for a total of 869 stitches. Let me move that just a little bit, and here she is. I mainly worked down here in her dress. I also really love how this looks. I do have all the beads. The rest of this border, I had only received one of my Krynics for the brown for the border. And you know, of course, Krynic is now extremely difficult to get, and so this half of the border is just going to go undone until I can get another thing of that brown. But so here she is now. So I believe most of the top of her is completely done. All of the spaces you see are for beads. And I also did, I don't know if I had the flowers done or not last time, the roses, but I definitely worked a lot on her dress, filling in those greens. But I really love her. Just the coloring is gorgeous. So yeah, so there is Alice. Oh, she is on a 16 count Sandbar from Under the Sea Fabrics. I realized, Ava, I didn't tell you anything. She is also on a 16 count Blackberry Latte from Grace Notes Fabric. And I had worked on her the most out of all of them. She was 6 days for 2,286 stitches. Alright, next we've got the last project that I worked on, and this is also another one of my projects, or one of my patterns. This is A Touch of Darkness, book spine. So here's what it will look like. Here's what it looked like last time. I only worked on her for 1 day, and for a total of 240 stitches. Again, I've got a little thread, because that's, I'll just leave off in the middle of a thread sometimes, because I stitch a lot at night, and so I'll get to a point where I'm just too tired to continue stitching. But this is what she looks like now. And so it should be a cute little bookmark. Yeah. So that was all of the stitching that I had done, but I have one more pattern, or I have one more project to show you. This was the finish that I finished in my last video that I couldn't show you because it was for the show that I was going to go work on. And because it was such a niche show that I didn't tell you what it was, just for my own safety's sake of, like, you know, not being everyone on the internet aware of where I am and when I'm there. So, but now that the show has closed, I closed it, today is what, Wednesday? I closed it on Sunday. So I closed it 3 days ago. Let me just grab it. And so I try to cross-stitch the logo for all of the shows that I work on, at least when I can. I've been pretty successful recently, and then that's where the patterns for my Etsy shop come from. A lot of them are shows that I have worked on, or shows that I just really love. I'm constantly making more. As you can tell, I've got 3 patterns of my own today that I had worked on. I don't tend to post them until I have stitched them. 25th Annual is the one exception to that, and I combed through that pattern with a fine-tooth comb before I did publish it, because that was a request that I had gotten. So, you know, if you have a show that you really love that you want to stitch the logo for, let me know. I'm more than happy to create a pattern for you. Off on that tangent now. So this is Murder for Two. So this was the show that I just worked on. As you can tell, I do have a couple signatures on here. And so part of the reason that I started doing this was because I work on a lot of shows, I work with a lot of people, and you're always collecting, like, things from shows, and moving around a lot, it's really hard to collect a lot of things. And so when I started cross-stitching and realizing that I could make my own patterns, I was like, wait a second, I can have them sign them. And it's a great little memory from the times that I do these shows. And so these are our 2 actors, and then that's our director. I really, really love how this pattern turned out. She's really cute. These are long stitches, and so, you know, I very careful with this one, especially when I was bringing it and traveling it. The black up here is done with satin floss, just to give it a little bit of dimension. I feel like you can kind of see it. And I hand dyed the color of the fabric myself, just with like a yellow and a like almost black gray. And so this is on a 28 count. Yeah, this is definitely not a pattern for beginners, because just the 4, I think I had to undo twice, because it is like, to get that definition and the specificity in it, it's just like really detailed in where you're stitching. And I really, really love how this turned out. So this show is a murder mystery show that is 2 performers that also play the piano for themselves. Hence, you've got the piano. And essentially, one person plays the detective, and the other person plays literally everybody else. And it was a really, really fun show. Well, you know, that something that I'm just seeing now that I knew that I did, but I'm seeing it, is like, you can see the specificity of the hands pushing the keys in with the white in that gray row. I also play the piano, not nearly as well as these guys do. So I know the piano, I know music. So it was just a really, really good show to do. Yeah. So that's all of the cross stitching. If that's all you came for, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I wasn't even sure I was going to film this video today, but I convinced myself to, because it has been a couple of weeks, and I wanted to share all of my progress, because especially Ava, I really love seeing how she is coming together, and I know my energy is probably very different than usual today. It's, you know, you go and do these shows, and especially for this one, it was 3 weeks of just long days. Most of the time I'm sitting behind a table, but it still takes it out of you. And then for the show, I get 1 week of performance, and then you're done, and then you walk away, and you're back into your normal life. And you know, sometimes it takes a little bit to reacclimate to not doing the show, and so that's kind of where I'm at. But the doggos are helping, and cross stitching is helping. That's why I do this. I stitch for myself, because it not only grounds me, but it also gives me something productive that's not overly complicated, that I can focus enough on but not too much. And it's such a great hobby to have. And every time I show anybody the cross stitches that I make for shows that I'm doing, they're always amazed. They're like, "You did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "I don't want to ruin your work. I don't want to sign it." I go, "Please sign it." So yeah. Thank you so much. We're gonna move on to the other crafting. So we've got some crochet, some sewing, some Cricut, some laser engraving, some books. So if you care about those, continue on. So first, we'll start with what's in this little bag. This is my socks project. In my last video, I think I had been almost done with the first sock. Ooh, let me get the stray threads off. And I finished it. This is done with Herringbone half double with yarn that I got in LA. That's the one thing I'm doing because I travel so much. I'm trying to like go to the local yarn stores and find sock yarn, and then I'm going to crochet myself a pair of socks. One thing I didn't do with this pattern that it called for is on the very last thing you do is you put a row of single crochets all around. I didn't do that because it like stops the stretch of the ribbing, and I don't like that. So yeah, so here is one completed sock. I literally weaved in the end of the toe and the top yesterday while I was waiting for my car to get an oil change and a state inspection. And then I also started, while I was waiting for my car to be done, the second sock. I don't remember which yarn this is. If you want more information, I have it all on my Ravelry, so, and that's always linked in the description. So here is the start of the next one. And they're just really great, like, little projects to take around. Like, I don't have to have the two balls in here if I don't want to. I can just take one out and it's smaller. And yeah, I love this little bag. It's a cute little, like, small project. That's what I like. Next I've got a project in this bag. This is my skirt. I think, so I've got one more ball that is not been used whatsoever. And then I've got this much left of this one. And so this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to even show it all. This is the skirt as it is now. It's neon pink. I think, so two things about this skirt. One, I think I'm going to hold off from extending it any farther for now. I might pull it out when I'm, like, feeling bored to just give a little bit, but not too much more, because I think I want to buy a, like, petticoat or crinoline that is going to go under this, because I think that will really help with the shape. Just because this is I think it's like a worsted weight. It's Big Twist's value, so it's a chunky yarn, and so it's very boxy, and I think putting a crinoline under it will really help with the look of it. And then I'll also, like, steam block it instead of, like, blocking. So that should hopefully relax it just a little bit. And so I'm going to hold off on any longer because I want to figure out which crinoline to get. I have never owned a crinoline. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. And then I'll lengthen it based off of that crinoline. I haven't decided yet if I want to leave it that neon of a pink. I don't know if I'll really wear it if it's that neon of a pink. It's just a little too bright for, I think, what I would wear. So I'm thinking maybe, like, because it is acrylic, so I don't know how it would take dye, which is fine. So maybe dipping it in some black dye and hoping that it doesn't take fully and it will take patchy. So it, like, takes away some of that brightness, but not all of it. I think I would want to do a patch test or, like, a swatch test before I did the whole thing and ruin it. So that's where I'm at on my skirt. Next, this is, like, one of my favorite little bags that I've made. It's so cute and small. This is my little, like, sleeves. So right now it's just a long stretch of fuzzy black. It's just like a double crochet with a chain in between, and then you go into the double, and so you make two of these, it turns into a sleeve, and then you can extend it down. This is with Lion Brands, Feels Like a Dream, in, what is it? Caviar. So yeah, this is the reason I'm, making something fuzzy in black is because I want to be able to wear this backstage. Backstage you wear black. So a lot of my wardrobe is indeed black or pink, because pink is my favorite color if you haven't gotten that yet. So that's all of my crocheting. next, I did this before I left for my last contract. Just a little bit of, well, one finished sewing thing, really. I am making a skirt, and so I made a test. This is out of literally one of my mom's, like, old bed sheets. And so it's a skirt with a slit. Where is it? Here's the slit. So here's the slit. It's not sewn perfectly because it is literally just a bed sheet. And really I wanted to test it for the shape and the size. And then this is some older like elastic that I have. And so I think I have figured out what I want to do with this. And so I love a nice long skirt with a slit because I'm short, and adding a slit helps a lot. Makes me not feel like I look really short. And so I think because I don't like, so this is the front. I don't like how that looks. I want the front to be nice and smooth like that. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take and make it a like half elastic waistband. So the front can be smooth and the back will have the elastic. I have a skirt exactly like that. And I think I can do it with this pattern. I think the only thing I have to do is like extend the top. So I have a little bit more. Actually, I don't even think I need to, because I think I might be able to just it will like shorten just fine without having to do that, and it will just be a folded over waistband, and then I can just put the elastic just in the back half of it, and the front can stay nice and flat. My other thing with this, and why I wanted to test it out first, was the size. I'm a very strange size in things because, like, my hips are much wider than my waist, and if I make things to fit on my hips, it doesn't fit on my waist because it's like almost a 5-inch difference between my waist and my hips, which is crazy. But so I have a really hard time if it's just elastic with things that are gonna fit over my hips to sit on my waist, but I hate zippers. What I really should do is do like a combination of zipper and elastic, but I don't want to do that. I think I have enough room in the waist fabric here to go down one size in this pattern. I'm going to do some math before I do that and figure out how much smaller the pattern that will make the pattern before I do that, because the next time I make this, I'm just going to make it out of the fabric that I want to make it in, which is kind of a limited edition fabric. And so if I mess it up, that's kind of it. I can't really get more of it. I think I could right now, but I'd have to like get it now. It's from the like New York shop hop of like fabric stores, so it was like a specialty fabric for that. And it had like the theater masks on it, and it was like arts inspired. And so I'm also making a corset out of that same fabric. And I don't feel like making another mock-up because I just don't want to. That's my sewing project. I've got a bunch of different sewing things to do. I still haven't fully finished Princess Polaroids yet. I will do that this week, I promise, and you'll see it in the next one. I know I said that last time, but this time I mean it. Alright, next was something I did with my Cricut. So I don't have this with me because it was a present. It seems like most of the things I do with my Cricut is a present. Don't tend to make a lot of stuff for myself anymore. But so my nephew graduated from high school. He literally graduated on last Thursday, And he graduated at like 7 o'clock at night, and my show starts at 8. And so, all while getting ready for the show that night, I was walking, and his high school live streamed his graduation. So I was actually able to see it, even though I wasn't able to be there in person. So I'm really fortunate for that, because we're really thankful that my nephew did graduate from high school. It was not an easy path for him to get here, and he's not going to college. He's not a school person, and I used to, like, during COVID, I used to sit on Zoom with him for hours and teach him his school, because the way that his school was doing it just, like, wasn't working for him. And so I would literally sit there and do his homework with him and teach him. And so I'm really, really proud of him. And so when I was in New York City, I don't know if I had showed this, but I got the graduation Mickey for him, and I put his high school's initials on it, as well as his name. So here are a couple of pictures. I'm just really proud of him. Like, tremendously proud of him. I'm so sad I wasn't able to be there for his graduation, but I'm so glad that I was able to watch it. Everyone that I was telling while I was working was like, "Oh yay, I'm so glad for him. Tell him congratulations from us." And I was like, "Oh." It just really warmed my heart. The theater community is such a loving and caring community, and so understanding also, because, I'm doing a show, but still celebrating life. I might be missing out, but I'm still able to celebrate, especially my nephew. I love him so much. There's a 12-and-a-half-year age gap between my sister and I, and there is a 12-year age gap between my nephew and I. So I love him. I'm so proud of him. And I'm so glad that I was able to watch him graduate. Everyone on headset that night was, like, probably so annoyed with me, because I'm like, can he walk already? Why are they still talking? And so the graduation started at 7, and so I was able to see him walking into the ceremony. And then my show started at 8, and so the very top of the show is a very intense section of the show. And so when that happened, I turned off my phone, because I was like, I need to focus, and I still had a job to do. It's a very intense cueing section, and I was running both lights and sound, because the sound cues are so specifically placed that you have to. There was no way that I was going to be able to call it, and it was going to be as accurate as it was. I would have ended up telling the soundboard op to operate them on his own. Which, like, for a show like this, like, you don't know, because our tech was 10 hours in total. That included what we should have done. It was a dress rehearsal. I ran the soundboard and the light board, and so, like, it's 2 hands pressing 2 different boards and, like, trying to, like, separate, this hand does sound, this hand does lighting. And so I turned off the graduation. Once we got past that section, it slowed down for a bit, and so I turned it back on without sound. So it was just kind of sitting where I could look at it when I had time, but not distracting. And so we got over halfway through the show, I think. And then he finally walked. Everyone was like, "Wow, that's crazy." They finally, like, called his name, and he walked up on the stage right at the end of the song "A Friend Like You," which, if you know Murder for Two, it's kind of an interesting song. But I just, like, if just going based off of the title, he graduated at the end of "A Friend Like You," which is, I think that's really sweet and really, really cute. I wish it had waited, like, 2 extra minutes, because then I would have been in between cues and I could have actually watched. But no, it had to be right before I had another, like, small chunk of, like, cues back to back, and, like, sound cues that I had to watch for visuals for. And I was like, well, I saw him for a couple seconds. Yay! Here's some cues. But yeah, so that was that. I also, something that I couldn't show you last time from my laser engraving shenanigans that I did, was the closing night gifts that I made. And so I love pins, as if you've been here, you've probably seen, I love pins so much. And so I made pins as closing night gifts for the cast. So here was the pin. Laser engraved. I tried something different out with these this time. I used varnish on the pin before I made it. I don't know, I like the glossiness of it, but I don't know if I like how it engraved based on it not being coated in anything. Because the back is not, I don't think this back was. And so something also really special about this show was it was the first show of their summer season, and it's their 80th season. So on the back, I put the logo for the theater for their 80th anniversary season. This is the 4th year I've been back to this theater, and so they hold a really special place in my heart. It's like a family that I go back to every time I work at this theater. I don't know what it was, so I usually use E6000 to attach the pin backs, but for some reason this time I was having the hardest time, and so I had put it and it popped off with very little force too. So if you have any suggestions for different glue or different method, I think what might have been the problem on some of them was the varnish, but I don't think the back of this one I didn't coat. I think it was just the front. And so I don't know if you have any suggestions. I'm still new to laser engraving, so I'm still learning. I'll show the little card that I made as well for to put the pins on. And so this was the card. So it says, "Protocol says we wouldn't have been able to do it without a friend like you. Thank you for a successful show and the miracle of the forest." And so Protocol Says is one of the songs in the show, and A Friend Like You is also one of the songs in the show. And Miracle of the Forest is kind of how they refer to the theater, because truly I don't know how we do it. It's insane. But somehow we put up these amazing shows, and they go really well. Most of their shows run for 2 weeks. The first show of the season only ran for 1, and their last show also only runs for 1. Yeah, so I really love them. If you have any suggestions, I'm also I don't know if it's maybe my laser engraver, but compared to at least the pins that I know, or the needle minders that are from Fangirl Fibers, it engraves so much lighter, where mine engraves so dark, and maybe it's the wood, because I've only ever used one wood that I had gotten in a pack, so maybe I have to try a different wood. I don't know. If you have any tips and tricks, please let me know. I need to experiment more, is what I think it really is. So now we're gonna move on to some books. So when I recorded last, I was reading Shield of Glass by Sierra Storm. That was the last book in, I think it's called the Medusa vs. Life series. It was good, simple, easy, not much to report there. After that, I read Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. I absolutely loved that book. It's such a good book. I finished it while I was at the theater, and I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I think what I really loved about it was it didn't feel like a typical romantasy, even though it did. It was. Because it wasn't, you know, the girl chasing after the guy. It was the main female character just, like, trying to survive being alive. And she just, you know, a terrible childhood, as a lot of these romantasy books are, and figuring out her magic and how to survive in the world, and then being forced into a marriage, and then the guy that she was forced to marry being the complete opposite of what she expected, and also just, like, so sweet and kind and just there. Like, never cruel, never mean, just knowing what she needed when she needed it, and not forcing things and letting her make decisions and have some autonomy and, you know, everything that she had wanted as a child, but not what she was raised to do. And it was just, you know, it was so good. And then the reason I read it was because I had won the second book as a Good Notes giveaway, which is The Wicked and the Damned, which is, I finished, but I still haven't taken it out of the sleeve that I made, so let me do that now. Because I like to protect my books with sleeves so that I made, and so it's just, you know, it's easier, it protects them. And so I won this book from Good Notes, and I was like, well, I have to read the first book if I'm gonna read the second book. And so I did, and I'm really glad that I did. I really loved it. So far, all of the books that I've gotten from the, like, Goodreads giveaways have been really good. I've been really loving them. Wow, I am struggling to get this cover off. And, like, this book, you know, is obviously after the first one, and of course the first one can't end in happiness. And so this book, you know, it took a little while to get into it, but once we got there, I was like, yes, please. And the characters, I love these characters. I think they're so cute and so caring and so loving, and just, like, the world just, like, doesn't want to let them be together. So The Wicked and the Damned. And so this is a trilogy, and I'm like, I need the third book now. Please? But look how pretty this is. And it's got the, like, the edges, which after finishing the book makes a lot of sense. They didn't make sense before I read it. So I'm also listening to the Iliad. I think I was listening to that last time. But still listening to it. It's by Homer. And then last night, because I finished Wicked and the Damned on Monday, so 2 days ago. And so I was like, what am I going to read tonight? So I looked at my shelf of books. These are all of the unread books. Down here, which you can't see today, are all of my read books that I've read. And so I found this for $2 at a thrift store. So it's Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. Cute, short little one. It's got lots of... No, where are the illustrations? Illustrations and pictures. So I got through half of it last night. I'll finish it tonight. And yeah, you know, swapping it up. Yeah, so that's all the books that I read. You kind of got the life section all throughout. Didn't really mean it that way, but yeah, I talked about the Tonys. I watched the Tonys on the Sunday before I left for my last contract, for the Murder for Two. I arrived at that theater a couple days early. You know, like I said, the theater is like a home away from home. It's like a second family. And, you know, so I got there a couple days early just to, like, get into the routine. One of my favorite humans was there also, and so we were able to spend a lot of time catching up. Lots of dinners, watching movies. I also got to see one of my other best friends. And yeah, it was just really, it was exactly what I needed. It wasn't easy. It's a deceptively difficult show, a 2-person show. You would think would be a lot easier, especially when you don't have to, especially because both of our actors have done the show before. So it's not like we were teaching 2 guys a brand new show. They'd already done it. They knew what to expect. They already came in knowing the show. It was just adjusting what they already did to what our director wanted to do. And you know, you would think a 2-person show would be super easy. It's not. It definitely was not. It's there's definitely more complicated 2-person shows, but yeah, it's a deceptively difficult show, and it's just a 90-minute show. It comes in at exactly 90 minutes, at least the way that our guys did it. And like, I am going the entire time, and so we didn't do a dress rehearsal, and so the first time we ran it was in front of our opening night audience, and I just remember, like, the actors walked off the stage at the end of the show, and I just stood there and stared at the stage, and then I went, I'm gonna sit. So I sat on the floor for a solid, like, 3 or 4 minutes, and just, like, let myself, like, calm down from just, like, the craziness that was getting that show open. It wasn't the perfect show. It was, in all honesty, not my best show, but again, you know, it was the first time we ran it in front of an audience. The guys did great. Nobody else realized it wasn't the best that it could have been. But I'm hard on myself like that. And then the second show felt amazing. And the rest of the run also felt amazing. It was 7 performances. And then you do your final show and you go home. And that's, I think the hardest part about this job is you do so much to A, get the job, B, do the job, and then it's just over. And then you just have to continue on and find the next job. It's not easy. Not all shows leave me as, like, exhausted and just, like, in a funk afterwards. I think there's other, like, personal life things that are also adding to this one, and so yeah, I'm just giving myself some grace. I hope you do as well. It's okay not to always have good days, and sometimes you just need to push through and know that moving forward's the only way, and you keep working towards your dream and doing what you can. And something that I always say is, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Especially in theater. Especially in my field of work, is if we're not having fun, why are we doing it? We're not doing it for the money, that's for sure. And it's so fun. I love it so much. So yeah, with that, I think that's all I have for you. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Give yourself some grace. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.